rapid socio-economic transformation. Kogi State comprises Igala, Kaba, Ibira, and Kogi division of the 4 states. It is the most centrally located state in the country and shares boundary with the Plateau, Niger, and the Federal Capital Territory to the north, Benue and Anambra, and on the west, it is bordered by Ondo, Kwara, and Enugu states. The state capital, Lokoja, is an ancient historical town as the colonial administrative headquarters of Nigeria. It is located on the intersecting 7049 north and latitude 6044 east on the map of Lokoja Down is situated on a range of hills, Mount Patti. The town, in its growth, runs down the slope and expands into the Niger River Valley of the river and Benue. Kogi State capital, fast turning into a modern city, is bounded on the north and east of the river Niger and on the west of the river heights of Mount Patti and south by Bob. It occupies an area of the like most others since it is the administrative headquarters. Overall, the state is represented with the ignorance, the grammar, and the
Kogi State. It is that Kogi State, despite their abundant resources, lacks development. This has been attributed to the excessive administration in the state. Reported that between 1999 and 2014, Kogi State lacked 2 hours of potable water in a day, while sometimes there is no water supply in a week, even in the state capital, Lokoja. No part of the state enjoys potable water, despite the God-given confluence of the 2 great rivers, Niger and Benue, located in Lokoja, the state capital. The roads across the states are nowhere near international standards, and potholes are the significant characteristics of all roads in the state. Several abandoned projects litter the state with no valid reason for their abandonment. As contracts were given without due process, it is primarily based on political relationship and considerations. Consequently, many schools of thought describe the situation of Kogi State as appalling and offer little or no hope for the state. They further averred that the politics of ethnicity was the bane of the state under development in the state. They posited that successive administrations were emphatic in entrenching ethnicity at the detriment of development. This consequently gave rise to various agitations by other zones in the state that further divided the polity. The civil service was overbloated with extreme cases of ghost workers. Pensions and salaries were not paid when due, so much that the state was on the verge of collapse. This fact was corroborated in a report by the World Bank that described efforts at development in Kogi State as elusive. The crime rate was at its peak, with kidnappings and other social vices taking center stage due to the state of hopelessness that the youth resorted to criminal means to make ends meet. There was a dearth of infrastructures across the state. Public utilities were abandoned, that people resorted to self-help where necessary. The Yahaya Bello era, 2015 to date. It is a statement that upon assuming office by Governor Yahaya Bello in 2015, he was confronted by a myriad of challenges that seemed insurmountable, with an increasing state of despondency amongst the state's indigene. According to available records, it was discovered that Yahaya Bello administration was confronted by a hydra-headed monster that held down the state. All sectors of the state's economy were in an absolute state of despair. Therefore, it became a Herculean task for the new administration to meet its social obligation to the state's indigenes due to past maladministration in the state. The effects of the efforts of revamping a barley room state. It will be safe to say that, in line with this new direction blueprint for Kogi State, Governor Yahaya Bello has charted the roadmap for proportional and accelerated development of the state. This blueprint was mapped out upon the assumption of office to chart the business of the day and drive holistic reformation of regeneration of all sectors of the state. According to research conducted by a group of scholars from select universities in the country at the behest of the then new administration of Yahaya Bello in Kogi State in 2016, concluded that it will take the state a minimum of 20 years to address its myriad of challenges. The report further recommended that one of the ways the new administration will achieve any tangible results in record time was through running an inclusive government where all indigenes of the state will have a sense of belonging regardless of their zones. The revolution of Kogi State. It is on record that the administration of Governor Yahaya Bello in Kogi State hit the ground running from inception. Available records indicated that one of the first policy initiatives implemented was auditing the state civil service. The outcome of the audit exercise revealed an astonishing number of ghost workers. In some instances, workers without the appropriate qualifications held positions of authority based on their ethnic or religious affiliation at the detriment of merit. This trend further entrenched a regime of disillusionment in the Kogi State civil service. Infrastructural development. Infrastructural development in Kogi State under Yahaya Bello has been widely commended by stakeholders who were of the opinion that in the annals of the state, from roads to electricity and water, Governor Yahaya Bello has sparked a revolution never heard of in the history of Kogi State. He concentrated on fixing roads in the rural areas. For the first time, the rural people felt the impact of good governance. The 3 senatorial zones in the state have had a fair share of infrastructure development. Roads have been constructed to international standard under a strict project monitoring and implementation regime that emphasizes attention to detail. Hence,
the durability of projects in the state. Bridging education deficit. The educational sector in the state has received as much attention as other sectors. There has been a massive investment in the educational sector in the state, with a large chunk of the state budget allocated to education. This has consequently reflected in the revamping of schools across the state. The quality of human resources in the state has improved tremendously by implementing a policy on training and retraining of teachers. Transparency and accountability in governance. Transparency and accountability in governance. In furtherance of the leadership strides of Governor Yahaya Bello in Kogi State, available records indicate that the state is one of the states with an enviable record in transparency and accountability in governance. According to the report by the World Bank titled Nigeria, Review of Kogi State's Audited Financial Statement, AFS, for the year ended December 31st, 2020, for state fiscal transparency, accountability, and sustainability, SFTAS. It described the 2020 audited financial report statement of Kogi State as a standard for transparency and accountability in the public sector. The World Bank commended the state for preparing its audited financial statements in line with the accurate basis of the International Public Sector Accounting Standards. It said, and I quote, "We note that Kogi State's AFS for the year ended December 31st, 2020 has been uploaded on the state's website as per the SFTAS eligibility criteria for financial year 21. The financial statements were prepared on International Public Sector Accounting Standards, accurate basis. The Auditor General of the state has issued an audit certificate with an unqualified, clean audit opinion on the General Purpose Financial System Statement, GPFS, and a special opinion on SFTAS Program Expenditure Framework, unquote." In a similar vein, the World Bank, in a letter of appreciation titled Refund of Surplus Project Funds to the World Bank under the Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, signed by its regional director, the Bretton Woods Institution asserted that Bello's action made it possible for the organization to extend its projects to other states facing deficit funds and a closing date on projects. It is also on record that the World Bank released the sum of $5 million for achieving 90% of the budget implementation procedure as of November 2020. The money released by the World Bank to the state is prize money for establishing a fiscally sustainable policy. Finally, and conclusion, the tangible achievement recorded in Kogi State under 6 years under Governor Yahaya Bello indicates a commitment by a governor that places merits above ethnicity and religion. Consequently, it must be stated that in addressing the challenges in Nigeria, the Kogi State development model suffices. In looking at Nigeria from a Kogi State perspective before the assumption of office, Yahaya Bello, it must be stated that leadership competence is what is required to take the country out of the doldrums. The agitations for zoning based on ethnicity do not stand a chance. This paper concludes that competence emphasized. The worthy examples exemplified by Governor Yahaya Bello in Kogi State indeed places him on the high premium with the right qualities to lead Nigeria. He has demonstrated capacity and a high standard for entrenching transparency and accountability. Thank you. And
All right. Thank you, and God bless you all. That's coming from the Dean Student Affairs of the Kwara University, Wukari, Dr. Uza T. Thomas. Please put your hands up for him once again. Sorry, sir. When we were talking, we're having issues with the
your subconscious, will you truly say that Yahaya Bello's model in any of the sectors what you need? So these are questions you need to ask, so that by the time you leave, you will actually say, well, it's not a matter of criticism, it's not a matter of what they were telling me, but it's a matter that I have x-rayed, I have seen it, and I have reasons to believe that yes, there is something good in this man that somebody can relate. And so I titled my paper, Effecting a Rebirth. I'm not Igbo, the Igbos will run the hall or something. I tried asking somebody. He said, Effecting a Rebirth through Human Capital Development, Governor Yahaya Bello's model. Effecting a Rebirth through Human Capital Development, Governor Yahaya Bello's model. By that, I want to dwell more on human capital. Now, according to Heraclitus, which I know some of us have heard of, he says the only one constant thing in life is change. Change must take place. It's either when you were 4 years, there were experiences you had. At 10, the experiences are different. You got to 20, the experiences are different. And so, if we keep doing the same thing again and again and again, human beings, mothers, children, siblings, somebody should pause and say, come, there ought to be a change on this thing I'm doing. And so I said the world is a constant flux. Things change over time. And we are grateful that Heraclitus brought this idea for us. And I said, since the second point I'm going to talk on is that since independence, we have tried. 1960, 2022, we have tried. Economists will come, will form an economic team, will try this one, will try this policy, will try the regulation, will do this one. It's not all working. And at some point, somebody was, I read one paper where in conclusion, he sounded like there was no hope for Nigeria anymore. And I said, no, there is hope. And that was what really stirred me. When I did a research on Yahaya Bello, I knew him in passing because when he came into power, I was doing my postgraduate program in UN. So I was driving through that road every week, like 2-3 times. There was something that endeared me then. The roads were busy, this kidnapping issue, between that at Jaukuta side, the roads were busy and all. They will tell you federal government project. Bulldozer will clear the road every rainy season. So that if you're driving, you can see your front. You have a good asset view, and if there is anything in front of you, you are able to run for safety. I saw all of that. You come back, people will tell you, but I said, well, that is not the purpose of my paper. The purpose of my paper is people have gone to school. Political scientists have been made. Different theories. If they put like this to bad professors, even in law, even in politics, who have gone into power in Nigeria, and they discover that it is not what we thought. And so the question is, if there's something else we can begin to think, we will eventually see it, because there's something we must learn from the Yahaya Bello that attracted me. And so since you that read economics, by your own self, your theories are not sustainable in your own home. You that read political science, by your own self, your policies are not even sustaining the small community you belong to. What then is the way forward? And so we move to the next part, which is globalization. I want to talk a little bit on globalization. So look at the change aspect, we look at the economic policies, but we must understand the fact that we belong to a global community. And anyhow you look at it, it's affecting you, maybe the way you're dressed, maybe the way you now answer your calls, hello, hi, the way you talk, the way you react to people, because our culture, maybe the wig you're carrying, maybe something on you is reflecting that you are part of a global community, which Nigeria is a part of, which Kogi State is a part of, which your own state is a part of. And because you belong to a global community, decisions made in China will affect you here in 2 minutes. Decisions made in Rome will affect you here. Decisions, somebody is thinking about the next car, maybe BM 8 Series. It will affect you here because somebody will find a way to resources out of need and buy it. Somebody will not sleep because he needed to drive excellent. And so whatever
is happening everywhere is affecting us here. And because of globalization, see the effects. Our culture is gradually being eroded. And so, you watch the foreign movies, you want to be like them, you see your mother, you see your father, what comes to your mind is what you saw last night, maybe on a movie that maybe was acted and doesn't exist in reality. And so globalization has come in. We are saying 2023 elections are coming. Is this person that will win? Is this person that will win? Again, you ask people, what will this person offer? They just tell you, he has money in his bank. He's a money bag. And so money has become the critical success factor that we judge people on, not on basic. It is our duty to make citizens know that it is not in the material things, and that if the thing continues like this, one day it's already happening. Your child, your daughter will wake up and say, "Daddy, I'm tired of you being my daddy." He will shoot you.
Because we grew in a system where we were content as Africans. I still remember when we were in the barracks.
Offers you food, my father will tell you, the day you eat that food, you cease to be my child. And so even when you're hungry, they're asking you, "Are you hungry?" You just say, and you know you're hungry. That was a somebody is sitting here now.
Global trend. And as globalization is coming in, capitalism, which is practiced in here, maybe at XP, some people say economics will tell you is what is mixed economy. But I still know that we use mixed economy. Sorry, coming from where they say and say, you know what, we are moving white wealth from 6,500 naira to 9,000 naira. You go to the market, they tell you, okay, dollar has gone up. Oh. This is the price we are selling it now. No? You call somebody, they say, that's the price. Oh. It has gone up. So what then is the regulation when you say it's a mixed economy? So globalization to some extent has affected us. And because we are in a capitalist society, the trend and the mind of everybody is what? Grab what you can get at that moment. So people grab, doesn't matter whether you grab for the entire community. I'm going somewhere. I'm driving your mind to begin to see that beyond all of this, our expectation, if you develop the mind where I tag human capital, you have done the greatest thing to a community. And that is where I envy Yahaya Bello. Maybe we'll come to that in our concluding moment. And so, we are in a capitalist society. Our society, that's Nigeria, our economy here is centered around crude oil. Crude oil. Crude oil is not regulated in Nigeria. It's regulated in the Western world, maybe. And so they wake up tomorrow, they tell you it's fluctuating. We are suffering it now. It's part of why I came here late. Fuel, move from here, filling station. Everybody is paying us. We are feeling the bite. So even the policies in the petroleum sector is affecting us. We produce, but if you put us in the League of Nations, we are nowhere. So, our prayer is that by 2023's budget, this thing will rise. Maybe price crude oil in the international market will rise to a certain level. And when it rises, me and you are at the receiving end eventually. And these things worry everybody. It doesn't matter. You can be in any position of the ladder. The moment there is crisis in the petroleum sector, you are also affected because your budget and everything, the natural resources that we have in every state, nobody talks about them. When we sit, we are just talking about food oil, food oil, food oil. Nobody talks of farming again. Nobody talks of those things that made us who we are. Some of us, cassava in the barrack, we sold aku. You will do the cassava, they will sell, you will have money to go to school. It's no longer the trend. Everybody in the village, because the states have failed completely, everybody, whether for clients that wants to come to Abuja, where accommodation is very difficult, and probably sleep under the tree. If the systems were working, and the system can only work when the brain is working. If you know about UK, what do they have? What makes UK special? Not the natural resources that they have. In 2020 and 2010, or in the 21st century and going forward, according to Olakunle Sorian, he said natural resources don't bring a nation anything. They don't. The only thing special in UK is the people. And so if you develop the people, you've done everything. The only thing special in UK when you sit to watch that match is that somebody whose mind was opened up at a point decided that we need to organize a league where people can get entertained. And so you go, you watch, you say you are Manchester, you are Chelsea, you are Arsenal, you are this. It was the initiation of one person. Somebody initiated the idea, and today we are celebrating it. Somebody initiated the microphone. Today we are celebrating it. And so when we talk about build hospitals, yes, somebody has to be alive. Do projects, build hospitals, yes, the person is alive. But then you can be alive and your brain will not be working. You can be alive and be dead. And like somebody said, that if you put a one-eyed king in the land of the blind, they are all blind and there is a one-eyed king. Certainly they will look at the man and say, this one has two eyes, because at least he can see from one eye and say certain things he cannot see. And so that brings me to the point of education, where I will dwell on a little bit more, and then we'll do a summary. In last year, that's in May, NUJ, you can Google it and check, it was all over, I saw it on television. The NUJ gave Yahaya Bello Award in the area of, the person who presented last also mentioned it, in the area of education, where he said Yahaya Bello did a lot. And during his second term, when they were swearing him in, I listened to him. He said, my desire is education. And for the 4 years he had spent between then and now, which is 6 plus I'm talking of swearing in then, he said no tertiary institution in Kogi State or primary have gone on strike. Maybe you are from Kogi. I asked, when I read a lot, I asked some people, I said, are you sure? They said truly, under Yahaya Bello, that they cannot speak for every other thing, but this one they know, that under Yahaya Bello, schools have not gone on strike. Somebody has mentioned it, so I am not just the first person. And that salaries are being paid. NUJ gave him that award, Nigerian Union of Journalists. APC as a party went to Kogi and recognized Yahaya Bello in the area of education. Why am I dwelling a lot on education? I am saying the mind, the brain is the hallmark of thinking. If you can develop the human mind, a lot of people are angry. They said, the British, why they were here, their interest was exploitation. That's what the economists will tell us. They exploited us. They took a lot. I tell them, but at least they gave you a sense of wisdom. The sense to sit down and know that, okay, a train has to go across this place. That alone is enough. My father told us one day, I don't know, Prof, maybe we are of the junior level. He told us that the greatest obligation he owes us is to send us to school. Not a job. That once you've gone to school, you have the capacity to think and the capacity to dictate your next moment. And that's the greatest thing you can give to anybody. And so if, as at yesterday, I heard that ASU is contemplating strike already, and I'm sure you know the feel. It will affect everybody. And so if Yahaya Bello is excelling in this area, this aspect of education, where strikes are, people are not going on strike, students are enjoying their academic calendar to the end. The question I pause and ask is there something for us to learn in 2023 from Yahaya Bello that is worth emulating? Because if ASU goes on strike, your younger one will stay at home, probably consume more, and it will tell on your pocket more, or it will tell on your economy and your planning. If ASU goes on strike, it will affect something you were supposed to do maybe next year. And so it brings us to this point where we need to ask critical questions. Everybody in Nigeria wants to be a revolutionary. He's the one spearheading the move. He's the one spearheading the move. Nobody wants to be reactionary by taking decisions. Like when the COVID came, sorry to say that somebody is able to stand his ground, a youth, and say, no, on this one, this is my own position. In academia, you open the frontiers of learning. Nothing is final. Where you stop, that's where somebody else will pick from. And so, is there anything we can learn from this aspect of education? It's really challenging. And for me, that is something Nigeria in 2023, that if a youth, a young man can sit and say, despite the challenges we are facing, despite the problems we have, if I give these children education, tomorrow they will have a future. And they can decide for themselves. They will be useful to themselves. I think there is something Nigeria will need to learn from. And for me, that's the takeaway. If there is anything I need to learn from this one-day discourse, other than the issue of security, the issue of gender, whatever, that the ladies would like to talk about, you can bring in all gender. If the inability to think and define circumstance in COVID is not present, I am telling you, it will be just going round and round and round and round and round. It still will not make meaning. And like for every one of you who has a child, or who is hoping to have a child, I'm sure that your greatest burden is to give your children education. That's the greatest burden of every good parent, because there are still bad parents. There are still parents that are bad, and there are still children who are saying, I wish you were not my father. And so mine is a call to reflection. It's a call to think. It's not a call to general criticisms of what is he doing. I told somebody, I said, by virtue of my father's military background, I grew in the East more and eventually married there. And I'm from Benue State. We've had leadership in Benue State over the years, 1999 to, and I take responsibility for whatever I'm saying, 1999 to 2002. It has been like that because the majority tribe is ruling. The day the minority of the Igede extraction, the Idoma will rule, even if you hit your leg on the stone, you will say, is this Idoma people? Because never good enough. Somebody told me that women are always in the majority. I take that for a joke. What I'm saying is, it is always bad to be in the minority. There is nothing, but sometimes in that minority, you need to be a lone voice. Somebody may not hear you, but someday somebody will hear you. And so, for me, Yahaya Bello will not, whatever he does, it will be difficult for the average, I won't call tribe anymore, to believe that there is anything good from this minority. But I challenge you, whatever opinion you have, if the educational system is not working, then I stand to be corrected. But by my own research, I know that under Yahaya Bello, the schools are working. NUJ has recognized, it's been recognized, and we've seen some of these things on ground. I have gone and asked questions and done certain research. And so thank you for coming. I wish you luck.
Thank you for coming. I wish you luck. Please put your hands together. Briefly, for just goodwill messages, we are going to take some goodwill messages. Then we proceed with our guest speakers. Our first goodwill message, please, you'll come in this order. We have from the Bagudu Muhammad Kudu. Will be the first, come away from Bida. Give his goodwill message here. We have a Muhammad Bilal, Nigeria Youth Forum for Peace, followed by Comrade Isaac Kipa, Executive Secretary of SESJ. Let's have Bagudu Mohammed Kudu. I traveled recently from Bauchi to Kano. I passed a place called Training Kudu. Ladies and gentlemen, all the eyes gathering to get the question due to a lack of my faith and my family. I welcome to gathering and a big session like this to welcome developer of civil society thanks of the Governor Yahaya Bello, the representative country group. I had a meeting responsible for coming late all the way from Bauchi State. But I have an issue on the road. I cannot get a flight this morning. So I came by road. So gentlemen of the IW, you are welcome to this great occasion. Thank you very much. You are welcome.
All right, thank you very much. Just coincidentally, I was talking about Bauchi. I was coming from Bauchi. It's one part of Nigeria where you travel. That was my first time, the only time so far. We passed Bauchi. Wow, to Nigeria. That's Brenin Kudu. Are you from Brenin Kudu? On that Kudu. We have Brenin Kudu, Brenin Kedu. All right, next, our Google message here this morning is from the Nigerian Youth Forum for Peace, Mohammed Bilal. Can we clap as it comes forward?
Good morning all. My name is Mala Muhammad Bilal from the Nigerian Youth Forum for Peace and Good Governance Initiative. So I am going to be very brief. The Nigerian Youth Forum for Peace and Good Governance Initiative is a youth-based organization with a core mandate for advocacy and promotion of democratic ideals centered on good governance, peace building, and effective representation. Over time, we used to employ critical indices to gauge and measure the performance of an individual before pitching tents with him. And then our criteria are just four. One is that the individual must be technically competent, he must be evidently versatile, he must be convincingly detribalized, and he must be extremely visionary. These are our skills these are the critical indices we used to measure before we pitch the tent with person. And then going by the person of today, you will all agree with me that he has passed all of these critical indices that we used to gauge and measure his performance. We at the forum, we believe that he has the will, the competence, the capacity, and the commitment to make Nigeria a secure and prosperous place for all of us to live, going by his antecedent and exceptional track records. Our guest speakers have said it all. A gender inclusive leader, 21 vice chairman of the local government in Kogi State, all women, first ever female ADC in the whole of the country, a woman, and then other councillors and other key positions as well. And then he constructed the first Kogi State revenue house to enable the state to generate more revenues to meet up with our responsibility. And then if he can be able to translate vision into reality at that level, it means that if he comes on board to pilot the affairs of this country, it means this place is going to be a very secure and prosperous place for us. So I will stop here. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you.
All right, thank you very much, Mohammed Bilal. Next is from the APC Youth Development and Progressive Youth Forum, Honorable Tobias Oga.
Good afternoon or good morning, members of the Assembly. My 8th forum, progressive, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here on behalf of the 8th Youth Progressive Forum. I thank each and every one of us, especially the women forum. Your voices are golden. There is no election without the youth. The youth determines who wins and who loses. When Yahaya Bello assumed office in Kogi State, he was confronted with barrage of demands from the people of Kogi, challenges here and there. He took his time, sat down, looked at every angle of the state, and when he started his job, he looked at himself because other past governors have served in Kogi. They did not do anything. You'll be thinking that this is a state that no governor has ever ruled before. But when he came, he looked at himself and said, "Guy, you know, lions don't fear. He's a white lion, indeed." He took his time to tackle these problems around him. Before, if you are going from Abuja to Kogi, you will pray. You will have to fast and pray. And one good thing about Kogi, Kogi is a big town. It's only the state that borders about 11 states in the federation. And it's also a key town. If you are going like this or you are going like this, you must pass through Lokoja, which is the state capital. So Kogi plays a very vital position or role in this country as far as connecting other states, connecting other people is concerned. So I encourage us youth to give every support to Yahaya Bello. Though we are watching and we are waiting patiently as events unfold in our next elections. As an APC chairman, I cannot just stand here without campaigning. You all know, because when I get other people there, they came doctors, but I am an APC. So whatever I talk today represent APC. Though it's not campaigning, I have the right to campaign anyway. So please, I want my support, my cry goes to every one of us. I beg of every one of us that are progressive here, present, that since we have not relented in our effort, when it comes to any elections, please, we have not done enough, and we know the Herculean task ahead of us come during the general elections. Please, women that are here, your voice must be very golden. You have never relented on your effort. You have tried, and you keep trying. For Yahaya Bello, I've never seen a young governor that has performed in this country like him. He's a lion. He does not fear. Just like as lion does not turn his back when he comes to fight. The lion will fight until he sees the end. Yahaya Bello, those years before he came, from Lokoja to Obajana, that road is one of the most deadly roads when it comes to armed robbery, kidnapping. But ever since he now said, "Guy, this is me," the lion does not fear bush. He started the job. Today, as I'm standing with you now, Kogi State, all this banditry, kidnapping is no longer there again. Please, I don't want to waste much time because I'm an APC progressive youth member. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Tobias. The man we are celebrating here today is a gender-friendly man. I know if he's here physically, the women would have spoken. But so far, no woman has spoken. I was told that the Kogi delegation, they are on their way here. Women from now will join us here. Like the prayer, the unity fountain, I think the immediate APC women leader in Kogi State spoke so well of his gender-friendly policies in Kogi State, and she was praying that day that she hopes God And here's the cry. And when the seventh schedule of our binding document is opened on the 29th of May 2023, where the oath of the office of the president is administered, the name that will echo from people's square will be I, Yahaya Bello, do solemnly swear. And that's the prayer of all of you here this morning. Next on our goodwill message, we'd like to welcome Comrade Isaac Ipa, Executive Secretary, says Jet.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I bring goodwill message from the Center for Social Justice, Equity and Transparency. We are glad to partake in this civil society think tank discussion which we are having here today. The one-day intellectual discourse on the future of Nigeria. The Center for Social Justice, Equity and Transparency says that is in the forefront in the advocacy of good governance and youth development in Nigeria. So anything that comes about good governance, youth development, you see the Center for Social Justice, Equity and Transparency in forefront, and we advocate seriously for that. I want to encourage the youth that the future is here. 30 years ago, they always told us that the future is tomorrow. The youth are the future of tomorrow. But we've not seen that tomorrow. So 2023, that is just next year, I want to encourage the youth. Nobody should try your possible best to be at the forefront of every advocacy program. Get your PVC for those that have not gotten their PVC so that your will count. It's not about being on social media and talking. It's about casting your vote for the right candidate. For the youth, I want to encourage us to stand by each other. If we stand by each other and we don't betray each other, we are going to achieve a lot in this country. The future is here, and youths have proven over time to be great leaders in all spheres of life, religious, political, otherwise. When it comes to religion, our Lord Christ, for those that are Christians, he just died at the age of 32. He started his ministry at the age of 10. Let's come down to our country, Nigeria. You see, President Yakubu Gowon, he became president of Nigeria at the age of 31. He was the one who is still making Nigeria one till tomorrow, because he fought the civil war and he made Nigeria did not break. So he was a youthful head of state, and we commend him and we appreciate him till tomorrow. He was also the one that initiated the National Youth Service Scheme, which we have, which is the NYC, which is one of the uniting factors we have in Nigeria right about now. If not for the NYC, a lot of people wouldn't have even had the opportunity traveling around the country to understand the diverse culture of our people. If not for NYC, a lot of people wouldn't have been able to intermarry. But it was a youthful head of state, which is Yakubu Gowon, who illustrated this, which we have today. Governor Yahaya Bello became governor in January 2016 at the age of 41. He is fearless and popularly called the White Lion. He stood when he took over the mantle of leadership as governor. Insecurity, just like how the last speaker. Kogi was like the heaven of kidnappers. He did his best. Now, criminality is in the barest minimum in Kogi. All the vice chairmen of Kogi local government, all the local governments in Kogi state are women. That's how he has empowered the women. The SSG is AD. The women all should be in the forefront of encouraging him. Thank you. And I will not live here as better people. Thank you very much, and God bless.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Isaac Ikpave, who just spoke. He's a pan-Nigerian, who is a man building bridges across religion, across tribes in this great nation of ours. He gave the instances about Jesus Christ, whose ministry started at the age of 30, and the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, whose ministry at 40 has achieved so much. So what we are saying here is not out of place. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Let's clap for him. And next, our guest speaker is a seasoned public analyst, a man with rich history of this great nation and rich information about the political landscape of this dear nation of ours. Our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome to the microphone Dr. Peter O. Anyi.
Thank you very much. I'm prepared to be described as a development analyst as opposed to political analyst, because I'm a development practitioner. Okay, so I'm happy to be here. Each time I'm called to speak to what is close to my heart, I'm excited, and that borders on development. You see, three pillars for what we call development as it relates to stakeholders who play within that space. And those stakeholders are actors, non-state actors that we call civil society, and of course the political class that play the actual politics, and those of us who are in the economic space as it relates to development. If you observe very closely, you will see that two of those actors, based on investment, tremendous investment in research and development, have advanced tremendously. If you look at the civil society space across the world and their impact, in development, you see that they have advanced tremendously. And then as well, in the economic space, you see that tremendous advancement has been done in the economic space. But one pillar of the development ecosystem that seems to hold us back, and that's where the challenge is the political pillar. And you know why? In the civil society space, you're exposed to so much development, what I call them now, opportunities, both locally and internationally, that translates to building capacity and preparing you and positioning you essentially for leadership. And so it is with the economic component. If you hear speakers from the academia who have spoken here, you see them exhuming deep understanding of their subject matter for which they are experts. But you see, in the political class, we don't have schools that prepare people for leadership. Everybody can just wake up tomorrow because he probably has one godfather or the other, and he becomes a politician. And what do we get? Accidental leaders everywhere. Am I communicating? Accidentally, the people are not prepared for leadership. You see, I have come to understand very clearly that there are certain things you don't pick on the shelf, and one of it is experience. You gain experience only from experiential learning, from like gold or precious metals passing through a process that prepares you to become precious. Okay? So experience is very important in everything that we must stand up to say we are good to participate or contribute. And that's one thing that the political pillar of development needs to rise up to. And for those of us who have been privileged to have been given the opportunity to occupy political offices or leadership positions, it is important for us to understand that it's not just allowing ourselves to pass through the political leadership process, but to imbibe the culture, that prepares us for change. And that's why I'm excited that I'm being given the opportunity to add my thoughts, as it relates to the third component of development, which is the economy, because I'm a development practitioner, and I've been invited to speak on managing Nigerians' multidimensional identities between confluence and diversity. Now, when the last two speakers spoke, especially Dr. Dean, right? Okay. Now, no, the last speaker, Fabian, he said something about the power of the human factor and the need for us to invest in developing human capital to accelerate development. Now, evidence in recent times have shown that India exported a knowledge-based economy valued at $1.13 billion, far beyond income that was raised by Saudi Arabia, which is an oil-dependent economy. Correct, Doc? And there are so many instances. So we are saying that the mind or the human capital is far much more than our conventional natural resources. But even at that, we have recognized that there are countries of the world who don't have oil but are dependent majorly on tourism. And we have them. And we have discovered too that these countries that are tourism dependent or tourism dependent economy generate even far more GDP than countries that have natural resources, if you like us, Nigeria, with oil. So the challenge is not about whether you have natural resources or you have human resources. The challenge is in how you will cope with, leadership, positions us to begin to see things differently and then build our capacity to respond to emerging opportunities or trends, as it were. We are all witnesses of how Dubai in the last 30 years has transformed to be the global tourism destination. Am I communicating, Doc? So did there need rocket science to achieve that feat? It was one man, vision, that said, okay, look, and up till as we speak, they are still singing that song, that their greatest dream is to be the best for their citizens and the world. And today they have tremendously and significantly achieved that dream. So what we want to see in Nigeria, as it relates to what I've been asked to speak on, is how we can translate our natural resources from potentials to assets, that can actually impact and transform the lives of our people. And so we said Confluence. I've been asked to speak on confluence and diversity. Now, all over the world, remember I said earlier that there are countries that don't have oil, that don't have anything other than human capital or natural resources. And these countries are doing even far much better than countries that have oil and all of those stuff. So in this conversation, I'll be speaking to how we can leverage the Confluence ecosystem, to add value to the lives of both the people and the state, and what we need to do to be able to leverage the Confluence economy ecosystem to drive sustainable development in Kogi State. So across the world, there are 36 confluences, only 36 confluences, and Nigeria happens to be listed on that global map, and of course the destination of that confluence is Kogi State. And so what are we saying? We are saying that there is a close nexus between
human beings and the gift of nature. Today as we speak, because of our recalcitrant attitude to nature, you can see the devastating impact of climate change. Today in America and some other parts of the world, you just sit down and fire will just start. And that fire cannot be quenched. Until it will burn as much in America, in Australia, in some other places. They are all effects of climate change. And it is because of our failure to manage diversity, environmental diversity as it were. Today we talk about ozone layer depletion. There is so much sun, you know, and then you begin to wonder how come we are sweating like never before. It is our attitude. Today, if we are not careful, some of the impact of the climate change effect is that rivers will begin to dry. Even the confluence that's supposed to be a natural gift will begin to dry up, because we have seen rivers dry, like what is it called, sir? No. Lake Chad Basin, that used to be a hub for fishing in the West African region. Today is drying up, and it's a challenge. All of these are practical examples of how our carelessness to managing our environment, how it can affect us as a people. And so we are saying that the Confluence in Kogi State, which happens to be one of the 36 confluences in the world, is a gift that has been given to us by nature. By nature we mean God. And you know, God does not make mistakes, is he not? The good book told us that God created the world in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested, correct? And then what did he do? He gave us the power to continue his work. And that power is called creativity. Am I communicating? And then what is creativity? Creativity simply means create activities. Is that okay? It simply means create activities. That means those things that God has given to us, we have a responsibility to create activities around them that will translate to impacting our lives positively, whether economically, socially, or politically. Okay, so the Confluence, imagine today as we speak in River State, the entire environment in Port Harcourt is covered by silt. That is as a reason of our activities. So that prevailing atmosphere where everything you touch, people cannot afford to even wear white dress. Is it good for us? Even for health purpose. Do you understand what I'm saying? So these are some of the issues that we need to understand and how we relate. Today, if we talk about environmental degradation, if we drink pure water and we throw the leather on the street, that leather accumulates and it blocks the drainage system. If there is flood, if there is rain and that the rain can't flow effectively along those drainages, and there's flood, and we have seen how flood has devastated people and communities. Who is to blame? The nature that God gave us, or our own attitude? So what are we saying? We are saying that we have a responsibility to leverage the gift of nature that has been given to us by God, so that for our own we can enjoy it long time and even leave it for the future after us. Okay, so and that relates very closely to why the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals pillars are anchored on 4 principles. And those principles are people, planet, how people can leverage the natural gift of nature to create prosperity, you know, for the world, and then leveraging partnership to achieve that, and of course to create peace. Because we have discovered that without peace, nothing happens. You can imagine that Nigeria is in turmoil, and there is uprising everywhere. Can anybody sit down and drive development? If there is trouble, assuming what is happening in the northeast, in the northwest, and very closely to the north central, because it involves Kaduna and Niger State, and of course Plateau and Benue. if it's happening there, assuming it comes close to us in Abuja, will we have the presence of mind to sit here and have this kind of conversation? So what we are saying is that peaceful coexistence is at the core of development, and we have discovered that in Kogi State, you know, because of its strategic location between the north and the south, you see there's a whole lot of volume of movement of people and goods, correct? And the interjection is Lokoja. And so what can we leverage Lokoja as a unique point to achieve for Kogi State, and of course by extension Nigeria? So we are saying that because of the volume of people that pass through Lokoja and the commercial activities that happen around there, and given the unique nature of Lokoja, the Confluence Center, and of course Kogi State being at the center of economic development of the nation, that we can leverage all of those factors, you know, to drive investment, as it were, in the Confluence, leveraging in Confluence as an investment trajectory for Kogi State and by the nation. So what are the potentials of the Confluence as it is, as it stands now? Because of course we know that the status is that not much is happening there apart from traditional fishing effort and all of that, and then maybe small farming along the banks of the river. But we have seen that we can actually leverage that Confluence, you know, to drive tremendous investments, you know, giving these potentials for tourism, for water transportation, and then natural aquaculture, and of course as an agri-business hub. In terms of tourism, there is no two Confluences in Nigeria, and so we can leverage what we have to make it a tourism destination that people across the country and beyond, you know, can begin to look up to the Confluence as a destination, tourism destination of choice. That we even then us, you know, if tourism management is interesting, people market what they have and then sell it to the world and encourage people to come and experience it. That is what we see in the safari, okay, either in Kenya or in South Africa, in Rwanda, and all of those places. They are not special, but you see, today as we speak, probably because we are not ready or we have not been able to develop that much of our tourism potentials, we cannot tell in number terms that in 2022 that X number of people were able to visit the Confluence for tourism purposes. We don't have. And then it's lying there. And then we have a responsibility to develop that. And then when it comes to water transportation, for instance, the Confluence, imagine from Lokoja up to probably Onitsha, and probably the Niger, what is it called? Delta states, and all of that. And even up to the Niger Delta in terms of rivers, Bayelsa, and Akwa Ibom, and all of that. You can imagine if we have a water transportation ecosystem that takes off from Kogi and transcends up to all other states along the waterways, you know, and then comes back to Kogi. You can imagine the kind of traffic it will generate both in terms of human movement and goods and services and commercial activities. And then, of course, aquaculture. You see, as we speak today, Nigeria is still importing poultry products in billions of dollars. Why? Because we have not been able to develop our in-country capacity to produce enough fish for us to consume. When we used to know that trucks used to go and load fishes on a daily basis, that it were previously, was the Lake Chad Basin. But because of insecurity along that space, that commercial activity has stopped. So here we have, and that is why you see there are numerous small farm holders producing, what is it called, fish. But here is a natural aquaculture ecosystem that we can leverage and produce commercial fish farming. You know, that can feed both both us locally and of course for export. Because you know the number of Nigerians that are in the diaspora that every day still feel that they need this home touch. You know, they want to sleep, because you see, there's nothing like home. No matter where you go in the world, there is that natural instinct. You want to eat what, you know, your cultural food. No, so even if you eat burger and all of those things that you still want to eat. And so there's a demand for fish in the diaspora. There are over 25 million Nigerians in the diaspora. And that's a huge market to export what we have here. Fish is one of them. So imagine that we leverage the Confluence economic ecosystem to stimulate commercial fish production that we can eat locally and we can export. I'm trying to stress this point because it holds a promise for both wealth generation, economic activity, and job creation and all of that. So another one is agri. You say one of the critical components that supports sustainable farming is access to water. And here we have a confluence, a body of water. And if we can leverage that confluence to stimulate commercial agriculture, not just for any, if land is the issue, we can begin to look at modern agriculture in terms of organic farming, in terms of greenhouse farming, that you don't necessarily need huge hectares of land. Like maybe if you have maize or cassava or yam and all of those. And we can leverage, and guess what? Organic farming is called premium farming, because anything that is organically produced has higher price tag. And these are opportunities that we can leverage to encourage young people, you know, to farm along the water corridor, you know, producing very unique organic products that has premium that we can export and make more money and create jobs and generate wealth. Okay, so what are those key enablers that can help us achieve some of all of these things that we're talking about? We have discovered that leadership, not just leadership, visionary and purpose leadership. Some of us have emphasized that importance here. Visionary and purpose leadership, purposeful leadership is key to achieving or leveraging the Confluence economic ecosystem to potentials to create sustainable economic opportunities for the people of Kogi State, and of course to enhance the IGR of the state. But like I've said, we have seen where only tourism-dependent economy generates GDPs. That the GDP of the country is dependent on the tourism potentials of the state that they have developed. So the Confluence as an economic hub with all these potentials can actually serve as a tremendous source of GDP for the state, generating IGR, creating jobs, you know, and economy. And I say this because from experience, we are in this country as an MSME developer. We have seen that the traditional MSMEs, there are 41.5 million of them. They still have the challenge of accessing funding. Okay? The Credit Bureau Association of Nigeria report indicates that only 4% of MSMEs out of the 41.5 million are able to access finance. But here we are. Look at the flip side. The startup ecosystem, as at the end of 2021, have been able to generate $1.93 billion in seed funding for young people in the startup ecosystem. So how do you reconcile that? Because if the argument is that MSMEs don't have collateral, they don't have credit history, they don't have this, they don't have this, and as a result, they're considered high risk, and the banks cannot give them money. And then on the flip side, we have young people who discover that even ideas ideas that have not gone to the market are being funded. Am I communicating here? So what we are saying is that there are opportunities if we position ourselves very well that we can. The challenge is not necessarily lack of access to funding. The challenge is in our inability to position ourselves to take advantage of opportunities that are available even around us. I'm talking about purpose, visionary and purpose leadership here. Then infrastructure. One of the key enablers is for all tourism destinations. One of the things that discourage people from going or attending unique tourism destinations is lack of infrastructure. So if there is no road to the Confluence where that people can come, easily, find their way there, it will constitute a serious drawback. And then there are no recreation opportunities that are created around the Confluence that can inspire people to come. Guess what? Kogi State is multi-ethnic, multi-tribal, multi-cultural, and all of that. So the Confluence, if we create a tourism destination around the Confluence Center, it will be a fantastic opportunity for people to want to visit that destination and see the cultural potentials of Kogi State. Okay, so we need infrastructure that can drive development towards that space. We need, of course, peace and security is very key. That we must, we can see that is already happening in Kogi State under the leadership of Yahaya Bello, where from our research, what we have seen is that there's the Nigerian Peace Index that indicates that Kogi State is the #2 most peaceful state in Nigeria. Can we give him a round of applause for that, please? So we are saying that if we leverage that kind of opportunity to ensure sustainable peace around Kogi State, it will translate to an inspiration even for investors. So another key enabler is the ability to develop an enabling business environment that guarantees such security of investment. And then we are saying that one of the things that we have failed to do, even in our political leadership, is that we always assume that some of these development opportunities that we need to encourage is that it must be public sector investment driven. But we have seen how budgetary constraint prevents governments from doing certain things. And remember, I just said a little while ago that we have seen that even ideas, innovative ideas at idea stage are being funded. So what are we saying? We are saying that public sector investment may not be enough for us to harness all of the kind of opportunities that we have around the country, especially as it relates to the Confluence. And so we are saying that one of the business models that the government can consider to direct investment towards that ecosystem will be to invest in research and development with the aim of isolating all the potential opportunities around the Confluence ecosystem, and then develop strategic business model, because every investor wants to see a business case, that will give him confidence to want to go and put his money at stake. Are you following? As much as investors are risk averse, but they are interested in ensuring that their money, no matter the amount of money they put into a particular business, has the prospects of coming back. So we should be able to develop strategic business models that will inspire, and encourage people, especially investors, to want to come and put their money in those potentials that we have around Kogi State that I enumerated earlier. And of course, another factor business model that we can leverage to drive development towards the Confluence is the fact that we need to publicize the potentials of that ecosystem and the promise it holds for return on investment for investors. And then we have to go out there and sing our song. Because if we don't, nobody will blow our trumpet for us. So we need to begin to encourage the state government to organize regular Confluence investment conferences, both local and international. At the national level, we've heard of the federal government going on investment roadshows, across the country and all of that. I mean, across the globe. And then who says Kogi State cannot initiate its own investment vehicle and begin to engage investors across the world? Guess what? Investors, there are many investors around the world who are waiting with their investment portfolios and looking for opportunities that they can put their money into. So the issue is not even that there's no money. There's money. But you may not get the money if you don't know what you're doing. Okay? So, to be able to achieve, remember, Kogi State as it stands today is, like I said earlier, is multi-ethnic, multi-tribal, multi-religious, multicultural, and all of those things. And then we have seen how Yahaya Bello have succeeded in managing that diversity, to ensure that there is peaceful coexistence among the people of Kogi State. But here is the deal. Now, if you stimulate economic activity, a functional economic activity along the Confluence ecosystem, what would we get? We'll get a convergence of people, because people normally flock towards where there are economic activities, is it not? So that means that we will have more people coming into Kogi State, even the ones that are just traveling through. They have opportunity to, they have a reason to want to stop, to experience the things that are going around the Confluence. So there will be a convergence of more people, and then the only thing that can encourage that kind of atmosphere is managing diversity. Okay, so what we like to see, because diversity, managing diversity is at the core of peaceful coexistence that inspires and motivates followership and activate participation, and influence active participation in development efforts. That there is seeming peace in Kogi State as a result of Yahaya Bello's ability to manage the diversity of the state. It shouldn't be one that should be taken for granted. And so we are saying that if we choose to transform the Confluence economic ecosystem, there is the possibility that there will be traffic, human traffic, that will be generated towards that ecosystem, and that the only way we can ensure and sustain that opportunity is to manage the diversities very, very carefully. I've also tried to list countries here to prove to us that there are actually countries across the world that are totally tourism dependent. And I've told you an example of how India is exporting knowledge, that is even far more valued than Saudi Arabia, that is an oil economy. Okay, so the idea is for listing these countries, this is evidence-based, it's online. If you Google, you will see it. Countries that are totally tourism dependent, that they are doing well. So the big question is, having said all of these things and painted all this picture, the big question remains, can we make the Confluence an investment and global tourism destination of choice? Do I have the answer? I don't think so. But can I put it to us in the hall? Is it possible for us, if we agree that that is possible for us to transform the Confluence into an investment and global tourism destination of choice? When God created the world, it was a declaration, right? He said, "Let there be," and there was, right? Let there be light. Let there be water. Let there be firmament. Let there be. So in our case, remember what we are doing here is advocacy. Am I correct? It's advocacy, right? So we want to join Yahaya Bello. We want to advocate for Yahaya Bello by making this collective declaration as it relates to our commitment, to leveraging the potentials of the Confluence, to create economic activity for the Kogi State government and the good people of Kogi State. And so we would like to declare, let there be a functional conference. Can you repeat after me? Let there be a functional conference. Confluence. Are we together? I didn't put it correctly. I'll repeat myself. I said we are doing a declaration just like God declared when he was creating the world. He declared it into existence. He said, let there be light. So can we declare too that let there be a confluence? Hello? So can we do that declaration? Let there be a confluence. Let there be an investment in the confluence. Let there be a confluence that will create economic opportunity for the people of Kogi State. Let there be a confluence that will create jobs for the young people of Kogi State. Let there be a confluence that will drive innovation and challenge the young people of Kogi State to rise up and take up opportunities that exist in the confluence. That one is long. Correct? All right, thank you very much. I wish to stop here. I think I've spent far beyond my time. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Peter O. Anyim. Can we please put your hands together for him? I think ushers, please move into action. Father is about to speak. Our last guest speaker here this afternoon. I think, how many of you are hungry? You're hungry, let me see you. You're hungry. If you are hungry, let me hear you say, "Oh." If you're hungry in the house, let me hear you say, "Oh." If you want us to serve our food now, let me hear you say, "Aye." If you want us to hold on, let me hear you say, "Nay." Because we chop for house. Enemy of progress. Those of you that want us to eat now, let me hear you say, "Aye." Those of you are not hungry, I want us to hold on, let me hear you say, "Nay." The eyes have it. So we'll just set up 5 minutes, share what we have for them briefly. I just clap, let's clap so that no movement, please. No talking, please. Just 5 minutes to do that. Why that is going on, I would like to call from Better Nigeria Movement, Hope, to give her goodwill message. So before she rounds up, must have been done with the sharing. Then our respected Professor Hamed Danfulani will give his speech here today. Hope, she's looking hopeful. I welcome Hope, please. Ushers, move into action now, please. Please, this is. Don't give to anybody who stands up. Don't give to anybody who walks to you. Ushers, go to attend to people who are seated already, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I stand on the already existing protocol. I'm here to speak on behalf of the women. But before I go through, I would like to point out my dissatisfaction here today. When I came in, I looked at a high table. I couldn't find a single woman sitting there. And I know too well that our dear Governor Yahaya Bello is a gender-sensitive person. Please, sir, pardon me, but I have to say, are you people not that sensitive people like our dear Governor Yahaya Bello? All right. I take that to be, they are sorry. Youths, we are a great people. Women, we are the neck in the family. We are not denying that the men are the head of the family, but we are the neck that carries the head. Without the neck, the head can move. Without the neck, the head can rotate. So we are the key point in every organization. Any organization that don't have women doesn't progress. Am I lying, women? Even in the churches, any church you enter, you didn't see woman. The next day, the church is down. Even at the mosques, women, we are well represented. So I'm here to say that we need women in every organization. We need women in every association for everything to move swiftly and smoothly. And our youth, this is the right time, come 2023, to stand on our ground and say the leaders of tomorrow is us. Not the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. We are the leaders today, tomorrow, until next tomorrow. We should stand on our foot and say that no more using the youth as pawns. Ballot matter. We should have our rights. We should stand on our feet and defend our rights. The rights belong to us. We are the people to put whoever we want to put on that seat. We need a young, vibrant, and very hardworking young man to sit on that presidential seat come 2023. Thank you. God bless you.
All right. Don't worry, Hope. I love her sincerity. Let's clap for Hope. Hope, come now. Hope, I love her sincerity. Actually, in the house this morning, you could see, look at the names. It's Dr. Folo Atiemi, Center for Women Politicians. She was to fly in, but just sent us knowing that her flight was delayed. So, I don't know if the organizers were telling her there was no need for her to come because she was to make a delivery, flying from one part of the country to Nigeria. We have one Dr. Agnes Yonem from Makodi or thereabout who was to be also be part of this. So that's why you couldn't see them. Even one of our guest speakers, Petro Majid Dahiru, his name is there, he's a columnist. Down to 12 midnight last night, we assured us he was coming, but just this morning something came up. So when you're managing an event, bringing people like this, it's something that you put together. So sorry that I didn't see any lady there, but with the power vested in me, you are going to sit here and represent the Nigerian women. You clap. So you sit here. Hope, your surname, Emenaha. So Hope now will be here to represent the Nigerian women. Please put your hands together. Women, clap. Thank you very much. So women, are you happy now? Are you happy? If you're happy, let me hear you say I. Is it what we are saying that's making you happy, or the food we are sharing that's making you happy? So sorry. Please, we never wanted that to happen. But we have some guest speakers who are actually women, and you know the way things are. Somebody may just want to enter road, something will just come up. Oh, something will come up, something will come up. So it is not in the making of the organizers to sideline. You can't go far in life. You want to sideline women, no. Woman can make or mar you. So if you want to go far in life, you must learn to carry women along. Understand? So all the men, let's clap for the women. All the men, clap for the women. All the men, clap for the women. Let's thank them. Thank them very well. So we'll be sharing the food. I want us to have gone fast before I welcome our chief guest speaker here this morning, Professor Ahmed Damfulani, who is from DG NIMS. NIMS, most of you may not understand NIMS. NIMS is it National Nigeria? National Institute for Policy and Strategic Study. This is in Kuru. Understand? You reach certain level in the army. Understand? You go to War College or you go to NIMS. Understand? Those that went to NIMS, we'll call them MNI. You see MNI on their name. Those that went to War College or Army College, you see when they write their name.